Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and I have a quick Halloween card to share with you today. So I'll be using a few Jaded Blossom products. I'm using the birthday dies, just the little flame. And I'm using the Halloween banner dies, that's the skull and the bats. I'm using the fancy topper die, the fancy pumpkin dies, the Halloween dies too, and I'm using Halloween coffee art for that Happy Halloween stamp. So now I have a piece of paper tray ink black cardstock cut at 4.25 by 11 inches and scored at 5.5 inches. So I've got a vertical folding A2 size card. I'm also using the My Mind's Eye Haunted 6-inch pad. So these are all the things that I cut out with the pattern paper. So I've got my my little skull put together, a little flame. That is actually cut out of American Crafts yellow textured cardstock. And I cut out a couple of bats with the same paper tray ink black cardstock. That's from the Halloween banner dies. And there is my fancy pumpkin die. And I cut the front lacy part out with black from paper tray ink. And the back piece is from that same pad. Now that is some silver foil cardstock that I cut those out with. And that is also from that one Halloween set. So there we go. So now I'm just adding that lacy part of the pumpkin over the background die. That's with my Zig 2-way glue pen. I'm just going to quickly apply that on with my EK Success tweezers. And then I'll put an acrylic block on there and let it dry so I can put the rest of the card together. So there we go. I'm going to put that off to the side. And then we'll put the rest together. So now I'm using Distress ink and black soot, and that's a little blending brush. And I'm just going to be blending some black along the edges of this pattern paper, just to give it a little bit of definition. I won't do the bottom because I'm going to trim that to fit my card, and then I'll add the black to the bottom of that once it's on the card. Now I'm adding the black just around this fancy, what's it called, that fancy, I don't have it sitting beside me, but the fancy topper die, I think it's called. I'm just going to blend around the edge of that. And there we go. So now I'm going to be adding some stuff to my card to get it all layered up. So that is my ATG gun, and I'm just applying it to the back of this die cut, and I'll be centering that and getting everything lined up. So this is a super easy peasy card. And then I'm using the ATG gun again, and I'm going to put that off to the side. That's about 2 inches wide, that strip. And now I'm going to flip it over, and I will cut the edge off with some scissors. And then you'll see that I blend on some black soot from the bottom just to cover up that one spot there that I missed. There we go. So super, like I said, super easy peasy. And there we are. So now I'm getting that same black soot, and I'm just going to, ink around the edge because that, that orange die cut, shows kind of from the side, and I'm a bit fussy. So I'm just going to run that black ink around the edge, and then I'll be putting everything together. So now I'm adding my chain out of that silver foil with my Simon Says Stamp Craft Tacky glue, and I'll be applying that to the bottom of the card base there. And then I'm going to overlap that black kind of strippy stitch strip that I used. And I'm going to sort of layer that over top from side to side. I'm just trying to give my pumpkin basically like a grounding is what I'm going for. And I'll be using the silver foil cardstock again for my candelabra. I think that's just Recollections, but you can get silver foil cardstock anywhere. So there we go. So now I'm going to get everything set up. So I'm going to be putting my pumpkin down flat onto this card base. I'll be popping up things that are over top of it. So there we go. So I'm just going to be quickly popping my pumpkin on. And I'm kind of, trying to make a pleasing layer, basically. So now I'm going to apply this candelabra over top of the pumpkin. And for this card, I was kind of channeling the Haunted Mansion, if you can believe it. That's what I was kind of thinking of as I was making it. A lot of times I do cutesy. This time I was trying to go for, classic, spooky Halloween-y is what I was going for. So there is my little candelabra. And I will be adding the flames actually to that after I get my little curls on. So I'm just going to be applying the curls to my pumpkin with the Craft Tacky glue from Simon Says Stamp, and I'll be tucking them in around the stem area, just to give it a little bit of definition and make it look kind of cute. That's what I'm going for. So there we are. I'm just kind of, getting them all in and tucked in around there. Super easy, like I said. Not doing anything too crazy. Now I'm going to apply my leaf. I'm also keeping that flat. So I'm going to apply my leaf with a little bit of that same craft tacky glue. And now I've got my little skull. That came from my Halloween banner dies. And I cut it out of the cream cardstock. It was from a pattern actually in that pad. And then I used just a little piece of black to put behind the eyes, just so you could see the eyes and the nose. And now I'm going to pop that up. So there we are. I've got a little spooky skull, decorating my pumpkin. Now I'm going to be applying the 3 flames. So those are cut out of American Crafts textured yellow cardstock. And I'm going to be popping those little flames up using my mini dimensionals from Stampin' Up. And I'm just having them, sort of come up from the top of the candelabra. And that's what I was kind of going for. Just kind of like a spooky look, which is kind of fun. A little different than what I usually do. So there we go. So now I've got all my flames on there. I've got my candelabra on there, all set to go. So now I'm going to be cutting some of these little Stampin' Up! Dimensionals, the little mini ones, in half. And I've decided that I'm going to pop up the little bats with the little Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. Those are also cut out of Paper Tray Inks black cardstock. And I'm just going to pop a couple of them on there. I'm going to leave the wings to be free, and I'm just popping up the centers just to give them a little bit of dimension and, make it look a little bit, give it a little bit of interest and a little fun, right? Those are also from that Halloween banner die set. Super cute. So I don't always use those banners for actually the banners. I sometimes use them just for the little images because they're pretty cute. So there, this is my Happy Halloween stamp set. So you see the little tops of a lot of these pads have like paper that matches the pad. So I needed some orange. So I'm going to stamp it right along the border of that paper, and then I'll cut it out in a strip. So, you don't have to waste them. You can actually stamp on them. And usually the color matches the pad. So that's kind of handy. So there we are. So I just trimmed it out. And now I'm going to pop that up onto my card base with some 3M foam tape. And, I'll trim it just to fit. And then I'll, pop up my little sentiment on my card. And, super cute. I like it. And, using a part of the pad that you usually throw away, which is kind of nice. So there we go. Now you'll notice, you see I'm working on the Stampin' Up! Pad. You can see that ink blending behind me. That actually is dry. Distress ink dries really quick. It's the Distress Oxide ink that you got to worry about. That takes a while to dry. So if you were working on Distress Oxide ink that you blended on, it could be still wet for a while. So you got to be careful about that because you can get some ink transfer. But that was Distress ink. So like I said, that dries super fast. So there we go. So now I'm looking at that candelabra and I'm thinking, that is not dimensional enough. I should have popped that up. So what I went ahead and did was I cut out that candelabra again in the same silver foil cardstock, and I'm just going to use the Stampin' Up! Dimensionals and the minis, and I'm going to put it right on the one that I have glued in place. And I'm going to pop a second one up on top so it has a little bit of dimension. So you can always go back and fix stuff. Ripping the one off that was on there wouldn't have been a good idea because I used craft tacky glue and that would have made one holy mess. So much easier to just cut another one out and you can pop that one up on top. So that's what I went ahead and did. So there we go. So I'm just, I just kind of wanted it to look like it was in front of the pumpkin, and it was kind of looked like it was just kind of lying there on the pumpkin. It didn't really have as much interest there that I wanted. So, but I love the way it turns out once I pop it on there. It's really got a nice, dimensional look, which is always nice. So now you'll notice that I've put a little bit of glue. That's a cheater. So if something's sort of sticking up and you want to get glue behind it, I put it on a little scrap piece of paper and I slip it in behind, and then I'll push the paper flat into the glue. That's what I do. And then you can sort of get glue behind stuff that you missed. So there is my candelabra. Look at that. I love the image looks much more 3D. So now I'm using Nuvo's Crystal Drops in silver lining because I have silver on my card already. So I might as well use some, silver drops to embellish. Now, I could have pulled out orange, I could have pulled out black, I could have pulled out my white, but I thought, no, I'll grab the silver again, and I'll add a few little drops of silver here and there. You know, straddling the image, straddling the sentiment, kind of drawing your eye in is what I go for. Just be careful not to put your fingers in it, right? So now that's my Spectrum Noir clear glimmer pen. And I'm just adding some glimmer to my flames. And, you know, that's what I do when I want something to be really glimmery and shiny. And then what's nice is you can apply glossy accents over top of it, and that traps the sparkle in there, and it looks really pretty. So that's what I was going for there. Oops, I gotta clean out my little nozzle there. That happens all the time. Make sure you squeeze it out on the side and test it so you don't have a big glop on your project, because that's no fun. I've done that before. So there we go. I'm just sort of cleaning off the end, and, you know, want to make sure there's no bubbles. So, you know, make sure your edge is all cleaned off. So there we go. So this is a super cute, quick card. You could mass produce this, no problem. You can even make it more, you know, more cute, you know, with Google eyes and stuff like, and, you know, cutesy patterns. But I was going for more, like I said, Haunted Mansion is what I was going for this time. So anyways, thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope to get you back on the next video. See you later, everybody. Bye.